The patch notes for Verdansk are finally here. We get them a few days early, with the update coming in on Wednesday for Black Ops 6 and Zombies, and then Warzone will be on Thursday with Verdansk. Console crossplay. In Season 3, we're giving console players more granularity options by separating the MP ranked play and Call of Duty Warzone ranked play settings and adding a new multiplayer setting for quick play featured in party game matches. So we'll see how that goes out. UI UX text, preloading shader warnings, preloading in progress. It's recommended that you let these complete before joining a match. Preloading shaders, improved menu frame rate stability, compiling shaders. So it'll tell you kind of like, it'll actually break down which one you're kind of in, and then that's like the global of all shaders, so that technically if you were in Zombies, you could probably load those quicker, jump into a match, not have issues. And then like if you went to Warzone, you'd have to wait for those to pre-download. The PC benchmark remains a useful tool to optimize your experience, but it's primarily only for multiplayer access in that end. Customization, weapon and blueprint customization. You're now able to customize any blueprint or Black Ops 6 base weapon or weapon blueprint with a skin that you've unlocked or purchased across multiplayer, Zombies, and Call of Duty. So just more customization features. We'll see if that has any bugginess to it. It tends to be like when they do these types of things, something gets bugged out or you're able to glitch something or whatever the case is. Challenges, Black Cell, now you're going to get a daily challenge reward, extra 7,500 experience. If you log on daily, do the challenge, you'll get rewarded with extra XP. Return to Verdansk, if you're original like player of the game, you're going to get these individual 3 rewards for the Verdansk veterans, and then we're going to get the 3 instant rewards. You do the various collectible challenge where you got to open the safes. You're going to go ahead and get access to the Cali sticks and access to potentially this Trailblazer skin. Pretty straightforward, nothing there. Maps, classic, welcome home. Verdansk, welcome home. Verdansk has returned. This map has started it all for Call of Duty Warzone, including the breadth of classic and memorable features that naturally come with it. Below is a recap of some of the improvements made to Verdansk that players can expect to see. Trees slightly repositioned, original map, non-drivable vehicles clearly marked as smoldering wreckage, swimming now possible on the southern coastline, improved traversal in steep areas. Obviously, you couldn't climb some things, so they've added the goat trails that kind of go back and forth up the ridge where it was previously inaccessible or you had to go the long way around. Shorter telephone and electrical poles for easier parachute landings, additional ladders and adjusted paths to rooftops for better accessibility. Doors now double hinge so that you can shoot them open, and it works that way pretty easily. Ascenders returning mid-season. Some are already going to be available in Plunder, or most of them. And then the L-shaped ones that are faster instead of the A-frame ones. Pretty quick snapshot. Enhanced exterior lighting, improved visibility, and enhanced glare. Interior lighting adjusted to reduce hiding spots, especially against dark corners. Added detail enhancements such as extra debris and scenery around fire stations and riverbanks. And then there's like a resolution and graphical fidelity update with that as well. And for console players, the ability to play at 120 FOV, which was never done before. They didn't bring that in until much later on, and we had other changes to the game. So that'll be a significant one for people that have played on console since the original. The map will feel much bigger, and it'll feel like you're playing faster than you originally did, primarily because of that. Gulag showers, we're going to get the original. It's going to have the 3 different variants of the layouts. And then Gulag overtime will be capture the flag. Straightforward. Rebirth Island, that's returning. That's not going anywhere. It will be Resurgence quads will be available shortly after the launch. Usually a few days, could be a week. It just kind of depends on that. New Battle Royale casual. This will be for players to get kind of back into it. It's mostly bots in those lobbies. If you need to level up your gun, this could probably be a good opportunity if you want to try out a loadout before you take it into a full-on game to see if, is this even worth using? How does it feel at certain ranges? This could be a good opportunity for that. High Trip will be in the middle of the season as an LTM, and probably an event associated with that since they do have the Jay and Silent Bob bundles that are coming. Returning, Battle Royale will have 150 players for solo duos and trios, and quads will have the 152, just kind of how the math works out. Plunder will be available at launch, 100 player count. Warzone Bootcamp, this is a little bit more of a smaller mode, kind of get you acclimated to getting used to the mechanics of the game. And that'll be 20 real players, 24 bots, straightforward. And then Resurgence will be the normal that we're used to, 44 player count. Weekly playlist, you can kind of see it there. If you want to take a screenshot, save out what's coming and when, it'll all be available. So Resurgence looks like it will be there launch window So it'll be within those 10 days. Ranked play will come at the mid-season. One thing that'll be interested with this is that it's going to be a hard reset to ranked. So everyone will be back to bronze for the launch of Warzone Verdansk ranked. And then in season 4, when we have the update, then it'll be a traditional rollback. So it'll be more of a soft reset. So you can see right there when that comes back through. So that'll just kind of, because they're changing a bunch of things, they're reorienting it. They want to make sure that people end up in the right skill bracket. So they're going to just kind of start it over. General Classic 150 players. The number of players in Battle Royale match has been increased to 150. This has already been done in a lot of matches. There's 152 in quads. Free fall shooting, straightforward, also known as skydiving, using a secondary weapon. If no secondary weapon is equipped, they will default to their backpack pistol. So it kind of limits that, whereas you're not going to be able to just come back from the Gulag and shoot out of the sky. You will have a pistol to shoot out of the sky, but then as soon as you land, you're going to swap to whatever the gun is. So it could be kind of interesting. You might need to swap in the air so that when you land, you already have your weapon drawn and you don't need to do the drawn animation. That's something we'll have to kind of figure out. 360-degree revive rotation. Players can now rotate their view 360 degrees while reviving a teammate instead of being fixed. Endgame circle pacing. So it kind of has the different layouts there. I'd have to compare those with the actual data of the zones, but I believe it's going to be a little bit of a slower tempo, going back to kind of more of the original Verdansk pacing. So the first zone will probably feel long, and then it'll speed up, and then the zones will actually kind of pull kind of hard. And one thing we did have a creator call, it sounds like the first zone will be a little bit more chaotic, like in terms of placement, like we had previously in Verdansk, where it could be like in the top right, and you're like, dang, okay, that's kind of where the zone's going to be. And if you land outside of there, you're going to need to get back in relatively quickly. Map assets, mini models, and textures are found across Verdansk now feature classic aesthetics, including but not limited to armor plates, armor satchels, and buy stations, as well as contracts, which is the W. I like the contract one a lot. I didn't like those laptops almost ever. Classic. Gameplay ascenders in Verdansk Battle Royale. This bring back the classic feel of Verdansk. External ascenders have been disabled at the launch, but are scheduled to return at the mid-season. Internal ascenders within elevator shafts remain operational, but those have also been improved so that you're able to shoot as you're coming up, whereas before you were really locked in. You'd have to get off the thing and you could see the bouncing betties or the claymores and you're screwed. That will be a little bit different. You'll probably still get blown up by that stuff, but it'll be a little bit different. Adjustment, Gulag loadouts. Loadouts from the Gulag have been reworked to improve variety and balancing. These loadouts will change as the game progresses, allowing players to return to the field victorious competitive weapons. So I wonder if the time of the zone, it will impact the weapons you get. Oh, it does. Yeah, Circle 1. These are the 3 loadouts, Circle 2, and then it continues. So if you die early on, you'll probably get a pistol Gulag, which we can see there. So you don't come back with something crazy. You can see there's no primary, it's just secondaries. And then as it goes on, you're more likely to get a viable weapon, but doesn't necessarily mean a crazy good weapon. So they've simplified it. It looks like only smokes are in the Gulag as a tactical, which is kind of good. No stuns, no flashbangs, none of that nonsense. Gas grenades gone, but we're still going to have frag, thermite, Molotov, which are pretty good if you know how to use those appropriately. Infill and backup pistols. Players will now infill and spawn with the 9mm, replacing the GS-45. Late game redeployments will now spawn players closer to the ground, reducing the need to hover while positioning. Ooh, this is kind of going to change some of the Zone 5 loadouts where you would kind of, it's about to spawn Zone 5 loadout. Let me go ahead and spawn and wait for a little bit and land. There it is. Boom. And then you get your loadout. That's going to change a little bit of that dynamic. You won't be able to hang nearly as long. Player respawn angles of quality of life. Players now respawn looking approximately 30 degrees downward instead of directly at the horizon, providing a clearer view of potential landing areas. That's kind of good. Just a simple, I don't think anyone asked for that, but that's actually sounds like a good thing. Just aligns with natural behavior because obviously you'd come out and then you'd look down anyways to kind of see where you want to land. Unsuppressed red dot distance. This has been reduced to 112 meters on Rebirth Island, down from 250 to better align with the map size. So that's specific to Rebirth. So it'll still be 250 meters on Verdansk. Loot and economy, classic. So you can see the color coding and the floating loot. Loot on the ground will once again float in the air, better visibility and interactability. Adjustments. A return to the Verdansk comes from some fine battle royale loot philosophy that brings us to its roots. Life is valuable. Adaptability is key. Great loot must be earned, and contracts are a central way of earning cash. So they want you to emphasize the importance of, doing the contracts, and the multiplier helps with that. They don't want you to, you'll have a direct line to be able to get your loot and get your loadout as fast as possible. And we'll see if they talk about the loadouts here, but they've changed the cost of loadout. So it's $6K if you're a solo player, and it'll be $10K for duos, trios, and quads. So that'll make it so that you're able to get the loadouts much quicker, which will give you that initial feel of Verdansk where you would land. If it was a hot spot, you'd probably win that engagement. Maybe you start a contract at that time, do it really quickly. Everyone has enough cash. You hit the loadout, and immediately you're already starting to move across the map. If you were a little bit more of an aggressive player, you would chase kills with the UAV or bounties. And then if you were a little bit more of a passive, trying to go for like win, you would do maybe recons to position yourself for a later zone and rotate early. So it's allowing you to get that loadout immediately, which is kind of a nice thing instead of the 15,000 that it is for quads or whatever it is now, and 1250 for trios or nonsense. High value loot zones. This season, high value loot zones remain consistent every match, allowing players to reliably identify military base, superstore, hospital as points of interest with enhanced ground loot and increased number of supply boxes. That's cool. So generally what that means, if there's an area where in super there would be like 9 chests that are openable, now because it's designated as a hot zone, it's going to activate every possible chest in that area, and then you might end up with 20 chests. So it'll be a little bit easier to loot, and then it'll be a hot drop, and then if you come out of that, you'll be more likely to have the cash you need to get the loadout and do the cycle of either bounty or recons or just position and rotate or whatever the case is. Supply boxes. We have basic, legendary, and then the reusable ones, which we're kind of familiar with. Duffel bags, medical cabinets, and weapon lockers. These resources and loots have been removed to better service the classic feeling. Ooh, that's an interesting one. But that'll also simplify looting. So you're just looking in for the sound of those chests, which should have those classic sounds. Second chance mechanics. We got removal of Gulag, reinforcement, and redeploy tokens. So your life is valuable. So Gulag buy station, and then jailbreak. That's another one. Self-revive kit. Self-revives can only be acquired via the following sources: legendary, random drop, scavenger contract, random drop, buy station, and then fire sale will be free. Death tax. Cash upon death has been adjusted. Assist players returning from the Gulag provide a larger portion of the previous cash balance. Mid to late game recovery. 50% of the cash balance will drop on the ground. 50% will remain with the eliminated player, up to 20%, up from 20%. So you're going to end up actually holding, no money gets lost. Okay, that's good. Yeah, before you would die, you would just lose half that money, almost a 30% of that money. So that's pretty good. So after months of playtesting, they figured out that works better. We'll see how a lot of these things, when it actually gets into the player base, they have to be able to tune it and make adjustments based off of that. So we'll see how that goes. Loot angle. Interactions now require more precise aiming to reduce the accidental item pickups, which is good. Because sometimes you'll aim and you're like, I think I'm at it. You press it and then it just doesn't do it. Rarity outlines gradually fade into view only when players are within logical proximity, rather than remaining visible at all distances. That's huge. Loot card positioning. Loot cards now centered over items to improve readability, particularly when combined with floating loot. Loot cards remain a fixed height rather than moving with player's view. Interesting. Classic buy stations. You can see that it says loadout drop marker 6K. And so this is a solo. Vertical redesign, it's going to be there, but now we actually have the icons, and then we have the enhanced navigation. So it'll always start at armor plates, and it does work like you would expect, where if you press up on the D-pad, or obviously a mouse, you would just click, but if you press up on the D-pad, it'll automatically cycle down to loadout. If you press up 3 times, you'll know that you're going to go to the gas mask. So you can kind of get in the habit of going halfway down or halfway up, so that you can cycle through the whole menu a little bit more efficiently instead of pressing down 6 or 7 times. New, redeploy all button. That's a huge quality of life. And one of the nice things about this is if you can actually still go over and select if you want a specific player. Maybe they're just a better player and you want to buy back the better player, or you're playing with randoms and one of the people dead happens to be your friend. You can go ahead and buy them back over the random, which is kind of a natural thing. If you go ahead and do buy all, but you only have 4,000, not enough to buy back 2 people, it'll prioritize the player with the most money. So instead of going, oh, who has what? You don't even got to think about it. You just go into the menu, you press it, it'll automatically buy the person back with the most money, so they can come back and maybe potentially buy the next person with the money they have. And that money should be a little bit more because of the other balance of the death tax that they talked about, where you're still going to have half that money, not only 30 or 20% or 30% of that money that you originally had from previously. So it should be up in that when you do need to come back. Item icons, each entry to the vertical buy station now has an icon, which is cool. Item count, and this is going to be for very specific items in the buy station that they'll have limits on. Category, subheader, quality of life. We appreciate the where it says field upgrade, kill streak. Even though we know those things, it does help just to kind of know, oh, that's what this is and this isn't. Adjustments, spawn locations. Buy stations will spawn in the exact 30 static locations across every map. Okay, that's how that'll work. 30 buy stations on the map is huge. And then the inventory, it kind of breaks it down there. And this is the buy station thing that we're talking about. So pretty straightforward. We'll have to see how they balance with the economy, because those numbers don't really mean much. Because if you get 100,000 each match, then the prices are trivial, right? It doesn't really matter. But you only get 5K a match, well, then it becomes a huge issue, right? So you kind of got to balance that with that. Interactable angle buy stations can be now accessed from any angle, including behind it, providing increased flexibility. This is one we kind of talked about for a while. Whatever reason, Warzone 2, they did the 180-degree nonsense. Not necessarily good. Movement adjustments. Movement, crouch speed, move reduced by 10%. Crouch stand speed increased by 15%, so it should feel a little bit more responsive. Crouch to stand speed, while ADS increased by 30%. That's huge. Prone movement speed reduced. Not really a big deal there. Sprint movement speed reduced by 4.9%. Directional sprint animation blend speeds increased for improved fluidity. These values bring Call of Duty's Warzone movement closer to the spirit of the original experience, while we preserve the fluidity of the Black Ops 6. We encourage players to go hands-on with these fine-tuned things, because reality is they could say whatever number's here, but until you feel it, you won't really feel it. Reduce the cooldown for 40% for improved responsiveness during repeated jumps. That really sounds like you'll be able to bunny hop, but we won't know until we can actually try it. Side back speed scaling reduced by 8.5% to better balance strafe movement, which is cool. And slide friction increased 4% to reduce the overall slippery engagements where you just slide across the screen. Again, great for Warzone because the TTK is a little bit different, and I'm glad they're further separating themselves from multiplayer and zombies, because those games need to feel a certain way with certain TTKs and avoidance and all that stuff, whereas Warzone, they got to find that sweet spot, and hopefully this hits it. If not, though, I'm sure they're going to continue to dial it in because they need to be very responsive. Contracts, Classic Recon is back. And then you get the rewards, the cash next circle there. Supply run, that'll give you the reduction there. Pretty cool. And then contract multiplier, each contract completed now grants 30% cash bonus, and then you can do that up to 5 times for 150% additional cash rewards, which is huge. And that's also going to be coming in Resurgence, which is kind of nice. Tablet models have been reverted to the original tablets, and then adjustments. They have bounties, most wanted recon scavenger supply run. Big game bounty is initially disabled. Signal intelligence gone. Spy drones are gone. Big game bounty, I believe, will come back in the mid-season or later. Spawn rebalancing, contract spawn rates have been adjusted throughout the use of enhanced distribution. And with each zone, they add more because obviously certain ones have been used. Payout updates, contract payouts have been updated to align more closely with the values of reminiscent in the Verdansk era. And basically how that worked is if something was harder to do, like a bounty over a recon, you're going to get more money. Supply runs weren't usually all that much, but you could do them much faster, especially if you had a vehicle. You could just drive by the buy station and you can sandbag that for later in case somebody dies. You can run back there. You get a free revive, get some self revives going into the final zones, and then you're kind of set up there. Recon contract progress has been added, indicated how much faster a recon contract is being captured by your teammates. Back in the day, basically, this is something we had to figure out just through timing. Basically, if it took 30 or 40 seconds to do a recon solo, if 2 people jumped onto it, the time was cut in half. If 3, it was cut into thirds. So you can go really quickly, like a 12-second timer if all 4 people stacked it. So good that they're actually representing that now. And it'll kind of, hopefully it debunks a little bit of that stuff where people thought if you spin a different direction, it would actually make the recon go faster. Adjustments enabled fire sale, jailbreak, loadout drops when they normally drop, restock, and then they disabled flyby cast drop, contractor, rogue signal, runaway train, and recon flyover, which I think some of these have their place and could be great in LTMs, but it's good to just simplify the game and go back to the original. Thermite's coming back. So pretty good. And then you can see the loot. All these are going to be available. And then you're able to get these, but they're only available through loadout. So these ones you'll be able to loot, and then you kind of go there. If you actually care about a specific one, there's a lot of content. So I'm breezing through some of the elements that we'll just inherently experience in game. Armor satchels, armor satchel, munition satchels, available via bandolier wildcard. So you'll still be able to get the munitions satchel, and then we'll have the basic armor satchel. So maximum armor plates, default maximum capacity reduced from 6 down to 5 to match the classic experience. That one's gonna be rough for people. I expect they'll probably up it back up. Armor satchel capacity gives you additional 3 plates, totaling to 8. Down from the previous 6, this also matches the classic experience. Armor drops, limited players will consistently drop 1 armor plate in the Battle Royale. And research matches this does not apply to the bots in Boot Camp and Battle Royale Casual. Okay, so you'll know if there's a bot if they don't drop a plate. Gulag armor removed in unranked. In unranked Battle Royale modes, Gulag now features health-only combat. Armor plate color improvements. Armor plate color has been received and improved. Where the color hue will be darker if the player doesn't have full plates. Color will remain a familiar bright blue hue if the player is full. This is better indicate the players have almost full plates. Interesting. Field upgrade has been added to the widget. It was a matter of time. Following outline, full arsenal, full field upgrade. So you kind of see all the ones disabled as well as the ones added or utilized on the left. Increased battery life of the heartbeat sensor. It is a field upgrade. Before it used to live, will be unlimited and be in the tactical slot. So this is a pretty significant change for the heartbeat sensor for Verdansk, but we've been already accustomed to this as a field upgrade for a while. Reclaimable field upgrade icons, quality of life, interchangeable icon, white dot now appears on reclaimable field upgrades to better highlight that they can be re-equipped. Kill streaks. Got those, pretty straightforward. No more advanced UAV. It'll be back to the original where you had to pop 3 of them. And then you'll be set up that way. Precision airstrike indicator, the return to classic feeling of Verdansk. Precision airstrike was added last year, has been removed. Interesting. I wonder if they'll add that back. I know people were split on that. I think it still functioned quite well, and you had less of those random ones where you hit precision, you just dodged it. You could still die because sometimes it's hard to get out of the way, but there it is. Airspace crowded message was now appear when players attempt to pick up or aim down sight with the kill streak in an area where there's too many are currently active. Nice. Adjustments, lootable perks. All lootable perks have been removed for Battle Royale to better feel like the Verdansk. These may return in future update depending on feedback. I think those will. I think generally if they're not like overpowered perks, they should be there, right? So we have this spot that's a little bit interesting for the weapons, and I want to focus on this little last section here. It says our goal with these changes is to increase the lethality of every encounter. That's speeding up the TTK, reinvigorating overlooked weapon classes, and encouraging players to adopt more thoughtful and deliberate strategies in preparation for engagements. I think they're going to mainly start off with BO6 weapons and then expand to some of the other weapons. The BO6 weapons just sound like they'll kill faster, and as if you look through these notes after we get through these, you'll see that a lot of things are sped up. We'll have to actually do a full meta video on a lot of those changes. They won't necessarily fit into this one, but we're going to get the kilo back, the AMAX back, the HDR. It is a 1-shot up to infinite range as long as you're able to hit the shot. Cali sticks are back. They're a 2-hit, which is kind of crazy, but there's no riot shield. I don't think so. So it could be interesting. Growl 556 is back. Monolithic suppressors back. And then we're also going to have default loadouts. And this is particularly good for if your friends are coming back to the game, they don't have things leveled, they can just use one of these meta-ish default loadouts, at least until they get back up on board. If they're liking the game again, then they can go out of their way to build their own custom loadouts with everything they want. One thing to look at here is a significant increase in damage that we can see with some of these weapons. The ranges are significantly nerfed, and they're changing some of that, and the balancing will be a little bit different per weapon. As you can see, this one gets slowed down on the bullet velocity, but the overall damage is increased, speeding up these TTKs, making them faster. Same thing with the Cypher. It's already the most dominant long-range gun, and although it's giving a heavy nerf to its range, it's getting more damage, so it should be less shots to kill. And this is a kind of a common theme. They want to increase that lethality, make the game feel faster. It gives them a little bit more tolerance with 150 health, 150 plates, instead of lowering the health by 50 and then getting a little bit less room to work with. I think this is generally, it'll hopefully be a good thing. I think it'll be like a learning curve. You'll feel like you're getting deleted a lot faster because these TTKs should, on paper, be a lot faster. As you can see, a lot of green when it comes to damage. Ranges, a little bit of a mixed bag depending on the weapon, but overall, very interesting to look at, and we'll kind of see where things settle. Vehicles: heli, cargo truck, Polaris, LTV, and ATV, and then adjustments. With the return of Verdansk, we're looking to capture the original essence of the vehicles in Warzone. Collaboration with our friends at Treyarch, we have tuned movement, health, damage resistance, and equipment interactions feel much closer to the original vision. So kind of how it works. The vulnerability with launchers, grenades, traps, C4, Joker. You can kind of see pretty much everything's going to be one hit by a C4. Pretty good. Traps, those are pretty good. Cargo truck is going to be a beast, but the Joker comes back being super strong on that. Pinging near vehicles made improvements to accuracy of pings near loot, near vehicles to avoid the pinging snaps to vehicles. Classic UI, the iconic victory will be there again. The tag map has a circular cursor with the classic Call of Duty Warzone experience. All maps icons also spiritually faithfully color palette from Verdansk with some improvements to better identify certain items at a glance. Ping visuals, ping shapes have been reverted to the triangle shape. Okay, cool. And then go to pings have been classic visuals, improving score feed colors. Standard score events now appear yellow, classic. Okay, and then we got this new weapon inspecting where it'll actually show the loadout on the screen. So if you're like, okay, cool, let me save this, I can share it with my friend. This is a little bit better, especially if it's 8 attachments. You don't have to have that window where you have to kind of scroll over in the loadout screen. This can be disabled with weapon inspect attachment info. So you get the option to not have that. We already talked about this feature, detailed recap. It'll tell you how did the enemy know kind of where you are and give you a better idea of maybe what gave away your position. Favorite loadouts. Right now, currently, you have to use the first loadout as that's your main favorite, and that'll be the first one you select. But now if you go down and you want to make a loadout your favorite, it'll automatically be prioritized to the top, which will make that a little bit easier. Death skull icon, the size of death skull has been increased to make it easier for players to locate their previous death location. Navigate pings, updated, provided clearer, more intuitive iconography with the design that feels familiar to the veteran players. Map, player icons, mini-map, attack map, players icons have been enhanced to visually differentiate between talking, firing weapons, staying quiet, and ghost perk on or off. Leaving match, confirmation, quality of life. Players attempt to leave match while teammate is still alive will now receive a confirmation prompt. Are you sure? Ping distance text on map, quality of life. Added a dark backing to pings on the map to improve readability. Ping duration setting, now that's available in there. You can change it 1 to 20 seconds or even make it infinite if you want. Attack map centering options, new players maps assist. Provides a few different options, enable players to be more agency, auto zoom and center, auto center. Ooh, that's actually kind of cool. I think it'll be weird to like learn the muscle memory because you've gotten used to how you need to adjust it, but that'll be good. Audio, classic, cinematic, exfil, Gulag, exfil, infill as well. And then music, announcer, re-recording by the original announcer, Julian Stone. Hit markers, that's good. They didn't get AI to redo it, right? Hit markers, including armor and armor breaks. Death's door, that's when the heart pounding when you're about to die. Footsteps recordings, a loot chest, buy station contracts, UI sounds, pings, splashes, and progression. W. Adjustments, occlusion, and reverb transition from the older raycasted occlusion system to Microsoft's Triton acoustic audio middleware, providing realistic. So hopefully that's a W. We'll have to actually see. I'm sure this can come out and people are going to be as trash or it sounds amazing. We'll have to see on that. Words only mean so much. Sound modifiers adopted a new procedural audio technology. Cool, developed by Treyarch. Footsteps and Ladder, unique tuning. Call of Duty Warzone Footsteps separate from the premium titles. So that's another W. That will have all that dynamically based off Warzone. Cloth gear, mantle, cloth gear sounds are now distinctly tuned for Warzone, separate from premium titles. W. Further separating the game. W. Loot supply boxes, audio pitch now dynamically adjust based on the vertical elevation, providing clearer vertical positional feedback. And tons of bug fixes. So many bug fixes. And we made it through the patch notes. We're going to have probably an updated meta loadout video based off all the various changes. As the update drops, we do get a little bit of a day early with the kilos, so make sure you log in and get that. I am hyped for the update. I hope it goes smoothly, but we'll have to wait and see. See you on the next one. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.